Hey everyone, welcome to the Align Your Life Show. Thank you so much for being here. The Align Your Life Show is all about empowering people towards living a life of enrichment. My name is Jenny Parks. I'm a health and prosperity professional, integrative nutrition coach, and wellness advocate. And my guest today is Heather Bischoff of Dragonfly Direction. You always know when Heather's here because the hands go up. Heather is a speaker, mentor, and offers leadership development for women and small companies. Thank you so much, darling, for being here.
Thank you.
So I want to talk first and foremost, always,
Yes.
about your GoFundMe project, which we've mentioned before, but it's been a little while. We want to remind people that it's out there
Yes.
and what it's all about because it's amazing. So share a little bit about that.
Thank you. I'm very excited about it, and you're right, we only need about $1,600 and we will be fully funded.
Amazing.
So the project is, it's a GoFundMe project for my book. So the campaign is called Teen Mom to CEO. The reason why I'm doing the GoFundMe is because I'm self-publishing. All of the proceeds from this book for now and evermore will go to nonprofit organizations that help women, families find self-sustainability, who have experienced domestic violence, sexual abuse, or teen pregnancy. And so it's a philanthropic project. It is, the book is my personal memoir of really finding success through these types of situations, and it's really a story about rising up.
Rising above.
Yes, rising above. It's about hope and options, and that no matter what circumstances you may be facing, the only person that gets to define if those circumstances dictate your life is you.
Love it. And hence what really led you to do the work that you're doing today.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And today the topic we wanted to share about or kind of focus on was shame, and that
Yes.
came to you.
It did.
Is there a reason why that's on your heart?
Well, it really came to me because it's one of those things that is often the purple elephant in the room, and no one wants to talk about it because no one feels safe. Everyone feels ashamed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a perfectly natural thing that I feel when we understand it on different levels, we don't have to be so afraid of it.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I think what we allow it to do is kind of put a light on our limitations.
Yes.
And push the play button on that reel that we like to play in our head.
Yes.
When it doesn't have to be that way. And as humans, I think our nature is to understand things, even though I feel much better off when I just don't understand and I just let go and move on. Seems to be the path of least resistance.
Yes.
But
yeah, I mean,
sometimes there are some things
yeah,
that
sometimes it's important to be, aware, and other times it's important to just follow your knowing and not ask questions. And there's a difference between the two.
So when you're coaching people, when you're working with people, is that something that comes up a lot? Because it really is applicable, like you were saying, across the board in life.
It is.
Totally different
So I
situation.
think that a lot of times we label shame as guilt.
Yeah, or it's something like bad or secretive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that
People can talk about guilt or resentment or anger.
Right.
But for some reason, shame is different for people.
Shame
they attach
is-
it to something embarrassing.
Well, and I mean, part of it I think is because of where we hold our values. And there's some really good quotes, if it's okay that I read this, from Rising Strong. Brene Brown has this amazing book.
Is it new?
It isn't. It's her newest book, yes. And so it's amazing. And so she has three points in here that I really just kind of wanted to talk about. And the first one is, when you judge yourself for needing help, you judge those who need help. And so I can kind of share a little bit of the context of that in just a second.
I love that.
Number 2 is, asking for help can be shaming if we attach value to never needing help.
Story of my life.
Yes. Yes. And the third point is, offering help is courageous and compassionate, but so is asking for help.
Yeah. Man, I love that. That second one really, the first and the second one especially, that really hit home, because I used to always be this person who, I can do it at all. I don't need you. I don't need that. I don't need help. I don't need advice. Like, I got this.
Yes,
And then when you
exactly.
finally start to change that mindset, you realize how upstream that mentality is.
Exactly. And I think, so in the book, what she's talking about, and it so resonated with me as well, is that so often we are over functioners. We have to accomplish things, and we find value in accomplishment.
Human doings instead of beings, right?
Yes. You know, as I say, GSD. And,
right?
So
it's a good mantra in certain situations.
It is a good mantra in certain situations because it gets things done. But sometimes when we are so over functioning and, over producers, we do life and we don't feel life. And there's a big difference. And that's where the shame comes in, because we attach this value to getting things done, to accomplishing, to achieving, to not needing help because we're so awesome that we don't need help. But we forget about our humanness and that there is no shame in needing help. So what often happens is we recognize this need for help, but because we value not needing help, we feel guilty, but really we're feeling shameful.
Yeah.
And
so when you unravel all of that,
yes,
you get down to that kind of core centerpiece.
Exactly.
And then it's like, okay, so what's that about? Where'd that come from?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
But at least knowing that it's there, now you can really look at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you don't really even have to focus a whole lot on it. I mean, again, you can just let it go, but sometimes it's the process of focusing on it for a while and then realizing, oh, I can't let this go.
Right. It's the recognizing, what's going on here. What is this feeling? Is it really guilt? Because I think so often, we label it, and it's a mislabel, that this is guilt, when really it's shame because we need help. This comes through in parenting. I see this with, professional moms. They have their career and they have, a family, a husband, and all of that. And they're trying to balance all these things, and they're feeling guilty because they want to do something. Really it's shame because they really need help and they're afraid to ask for the help they need.
Love that. It reminds me of, we're both in the same Facebook group, and I posted something this morning. There's a challenge for this week. Do you know what the challenge was about? Slowing down?
Yes.
Yeah, and one of the things that first came to me, the challenge was to do something this week or today or just something in the next few days that makes you slow down. Force yourself to do it, because for many of us that can be a challenging thing, and that's been a kind of a whisper into my life for the past several weeks, really months now, to just slow down and whatever you feel like doing, do that. Trust that. Trust that. Don't do what you think you need to do. Don't control it. Don't force things to happen. And that's what came to me when I read that challenge and I posted about it. Because when I do slow down, the second I do, it's like, you should be working, or you have a whole hour here, you could be doing this. This is much more productive. But it's not. It's not. The best thing we can do is be selfish. Yeah. And it's not a bad thing.
Right.
And that's a lie.
It is a lie. It's a
lie. It is.
It's an untruth.
So true, it is. And I want to talk more about that. We have to take a quick break, but we will be right back.
When Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage: Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Align Your Life show, here with Heather Bischoff of Dragonfly Direction, and we're talking about shame, which is in the realm of guilt and anger and resentment. It's all kind of connected, but all kind of separate. And I love what you said before the break, and if you can remember, say it again, about how you get down to the core of what really, you gave a great example, and I think that it helps to shed some light, parents, for instance, and to get to the core of what it is that, what'd you say?
Yeah, so I was saying, as parents, a lot of times, and it can be anybody, but this is a real example that happens every day for people, is that they're feeling guilt because they can't be everything for everyone, and they want to be, and really it's a mislabel of guilt, because really it's shame because they're not asking for help, but they may not be able to articulate that it's shame. And it really comes back to being okay with needing and asking for help.
It is a tough thing, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've gotten much better at it personally, but it took me a while to get there, and I noticed that a lot of people are in that same boat, or a lot of people measure whether they're a success or not by how much they can do by themselves and on their own.
Right. Well, our American culture is all about what have you done. I mean, even as when I look to hire people in the corporate work that I do, it is always, let me see on your resume, what have you accomplished? And that is just the culture that we've created, is what have you done? And it falls.
Write a resume that had nothing to do with what we do for money.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But followed the same outline,
that would be a great challenge. Actually,
I think that's an awesome challenge.
Yes. If you do that, would you email it to me?
Please do.
I would love to see that, because that would be an amazing challenge for somebody, just to do that, to
follow
see what
a resume guideline just as you would if you were writing it for a job.
Yes.
But write it with your life.
Yes.
Instead.
It's so true. But it's just, asking for help, we associate it with a weakness. But the thing is, I look at, parenting it's just such a great example. But even if you're, in a corporate leader or something, you're juggling so many different things, and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay, but then our ego, our pride, all those things, like, I can't do everything. I know just the way that men are wired, a lot of times it's asking for help is a weakness, but people aren't looking at it as, let me see what I can delegate. Let me determine the things that only I can do. And the things that other people can do, allow them the opportunity, because that is leadership. I just had this conversation with a client who was really not wanting to delegate, and she was feeling some shame, though she wasn't identifying it as shame, but I helped her to see that that's what it was. And really it was all about not wanting to ask for help. And so I just kind of said, who are the great leaders in your life? Who are the people that you have aspired to be like? And why is it that you want to be like them? How have they impacted your life? Did they control every aspect of your learning? And hands down, they always say no. They allowed me to learn from my own mistakes. And that is true leadership, whether we're doing it in corporate life, in our families, in our personal life. It's allowing other people around us to have their own experiences and creating safe spaces for them to fall flat on their face.
I love it. My husband used to be my boss, and I remember when his boss came and they were going to promote me, and they asked, am I ready? And he said, oh, she'll sink or she'll swim. And that was it. And I was kind of like, well, you could have said something nicer about me, like here's what I've done so far, here's what I'm really good at. But it was true. It's like you'll either sink or you'll swim, and it's all good either way, because you're going to learn either way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And ego is a big one.
It is a big one.
And don't you think there's so much empowerment for other people, though, when we ourselves, especially if we're in a leadership position, are able to ask for help, or are able to say, I don't know what to do, or are able to just ask questions.
Or to say, I failed.
Yeah, I messed up.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that is such a, because when we lead that way, and even in those moments where we do feel shame, really rising above and saying, hey, I could have done this better, but I didn't. And I'd like to include you in the solution. That to me is so I want to follow a leader like that, who is transparent, who is willing to own their mistakes, and who is willing to be current and in the moment.
Right. much more relatable, and the
Yes.
flow of the relationship is much more open and just I don't know. Yeah, I
Well,
totally agree with
if there's anything that we've proven in our American culture is that we can GSD.
yeah.
We've proven that. We win the prize, and do we really want the prize for that? Because there are so many people walking around who are so busy doing life that they have not actually lived life.
Yes, I want to get back to that because I think that goes back to selfishness, which underneath all of that is some shame too, because people want to be selfish.
Yes.
We all want to be selfish. We all want specific things. We want
Yes.
specific vacations.
Right.
We wanted, specific houses, clothes, a specific amount of money in our bank. I mean, all of that is something that we desire, and we all want that time for ourselves.
Right.
Especially, I think parents, especially, who don't get a whole lot of that,
Yeah.
but do feel guilty around it. And Abraham Hicks, I was listening to her this morning, and she said something, or they said something about selfish. What did she say? It was something about we only see life through the self. That in and of itself is selfishness, and that selfishness
Right.
is therefore a good thing.
Yes.
But our culture has told us something completely
well,
opposite.
our culture, our religion, whatever our religious affiliation or background is, they're always teaching, don't be selfish, don't be selfish. I mean, I can remember, I can remember being like, I don't want to be selfish. That was like the worst offense that I could do. If somebody said that you were selfish,
Sinner.
I was, a sinner. I was just a bad person. And it's taken me a lot of, reworking, recalibrating myself to really understand that if I don't take care of myself, I can't give anyone anything. And so it's not that it's a negative connotation of, being selfish. It really means taking care of yourself first. And airlines do this all the time, and people have a hard time with, when you're on a plane, take care of yourself, put your oxygen mask on first and then assist the person next to you. And I mean, some people really have a hard time with that. And I would ask them why. Because what is that really telling you about you?
A lot.
Because it's so true. You cannot give from an empty well. And there's nothing wrong. The desires that you have are given to you from your creator, whoever you believe that to be. And those desires are okay to have. There's nothing shameful about having desires. It's just important that we act on them at the right time.
It's so true, and it makes me think of cars whose engines will fail if they run out of gas, and yet we push ourselves beyond the limit of when we've run out of fuel until our body shuts down, which happens sometimes, and a lot of disease, which is dis-ease, compromised immune systems, sickness. If you're ongoingly sick, we receive these messages from our bodies, especially, that we don't listen to. We have to take another quick break, but when we come back, we'll continue our talk about shame. Be right back.
When Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage: Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
There you are. Keep on laughing. It's good.
Hey, Hey everyone, welcome back to the Align Your Life show. Just talking about the Miss Piggy video, or I don't even know what that was. Snapchat. That's all I know. If you know what Snapchat is, enough said, I'm sure. But that was so funny. So anyways, talking about shame with Heather Bischoff, owner of Dragonfly Direction. She is a speaker, mentor, and offers leadership development for women and small businesses. And one of the things that I have written down is, when we empower ourselves, we do so for others. Which, same thing with courage. And I can't remember where I saw this the other day, but when I see someone being courageous, it makes me want to be more courageous. It gets me into action more in my life. It makes me less fearful. When I see other empowered people and surround myself with empowered people, you know, that's the way that I go.
Yes.
And I don't really know where I'm going with that, except that sometimes we have to step out of something that we know isn't serving us because it doesn't feel good.
Yes.
And know that when we do that, other people are receiving that, even if you don't see that directly happening.
Yes. So Brene Brown has a quote that I absolutely
should
love.
read those quotes again too.
And the quote is that you can have comfort or you can have courage, but you cannot have both at the same time.
Oh, interesting. I like that. That's a good one.
Yes, and so it's really true, and it goes back to the empowerment where you know you can choose to be courageous. And Iva Nassar, in her book Rifles to Roses,
I love that book.
has an amazing story in there, a dolphin story. I would encourage you to pick up the book. And so
Amazon.
the dolphin story is, you know, again, like she was in the middle of the ocean in the dark, just alone, like just swimming around there, and she thought to herself that, you know, she can choose fear or she can choose courage, and that, you know, what happened literally in the next second was going to be the difference of, you know, the outcome of her life. And it's so true, and we don't think about our life in those terms, but every day we make choices, and it is just it's so true that, you know, we are really a sum of the choices we've made. And you know, taking it back to shame, you know, becoming aware of that shame and choosing not to buy into it, there's going to be outcomes from that, because that shame is no longer going to, you know, pull you back. And in the example we talked about with motherhood, it's the working mom who's trying to do all and be everything, thinks she can be Superwoman, and
thinks she has to be.
Yeah, thinks she has to be, and coming to the realization that it's okay for me to ask for help. It's okay for me to say no and to say yes to myself.
It's imperative, actually,
It
right?
really is. Yes.
You were talking, and I had a thought, and it went flew. I don't remember what it was. Can you pull that back, please? I have no idea. Will you read those quotes again, though?
Yes.
I love these quotes. Brene Brown, if you don't know who she is, just Google her. She will pop up.
She will. The first one is, when you judge yourself for needing help, you judge those who need help. Yes. Number 2 is, asking for help can be shaming if we attach value to never needing help. And number 3 is, offering help is courageous and compassionate, but so is asking for help.
It's all about perspective.
Really is.
Which is really a freeing thing to embrace and to explore, because we can create anything. We can. You know? I mean, we don't have to buy into what anybody says about anything. We can change it, especially ourselves.
Right.
And that's the biggest buy-in of all for us.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of courage, because you know, it's like we grew up trying to fit in, and then we, you know, graduated, and then we're trying to
Fit out.
Exactly. We're trying
Instead of just being.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we're really just trying to find ourselves, and I think that we think we're trying to find ourselves as we go through, you know, school, you know, becoming, you know, adults and all of that sort of thing, trying to figure out who we are, and are we who our parents say we are, and who our family says we are. And then for the lucky people who actually get to break away from that for a moment, get to really have a new perspective and be like, you know, who do I really want to be, and who am I without all of these people telling me who I am?
And isn't it so cool when you realize that who you are today doesn't have to be who you are tomorrow, or even in 5 minutes?
Exactly.
You can change.
You can.
And you can change back. And you can change again.
And I mean,
and you can have fun with it, and just dialogue with it.
And you can change your circle of friends.
Yeah.
You can change. I mean, everything is truly changeable.
I think I remember what the thought was that came to my mind. You were talking about right and wrong, and I was just thinking about how there's no wrong choice. You know, it's always right.
Right.
And how even with things like shame or things that we want to call negative or whatever, we can just observe them.
Right.
We don't have to wallow in them. We don't have to think something's wrong with us.
Right.
We can just observe them for what they are and move on.
And I think that's the difference between doing and living.
Yeah.
Because for so long of, my life and what my book is about is it's really about doing. And I didn't even know it until recently that I've spent a long time doing because that was my coping mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really want to be. And there's such a big difference because when you get to that point where you can simply just be, you can truly lead people in the most authentic way. And you really can give them a message that the world is dying to hear right now.
And one thing that I think is so important for people to understand is that in that leadership, it doesn't mean that you have to be on stage somewhere. It doesn't mean that you have to be a coach. It doesn't mean that you even have to talk one-on-one with a person.
Mm-mm.
You're leading in your life right now.
Right.
The people around you.
Lead
and you'll
yourself.
never know. Yeah.
Lead
You'll
yourself.
never know who it touches.
Exactly.
But it is always touching someone. Mm-hmm. So that's a great way to end the show. So do you have any events coming up?
The biggest event that I have that I want to tell everyone about is Getaway Camp.
Awesome.
So Getaway Camp is an amazing weekend for busy women who want to break free. It is so much fun. It is in Asheville, North Carolina. It is going to be Labor Day weekend. You can go to Eventbrite and just search Asheville. It's called Getaway Camp V3 because this is the third time we're doing it. We stay at a lovely camp and a lovely lodge with amazing views. If you look me up on Facebook, I just posted a picture from last year when we did this. It's so much fun. So, I would just come. You can hang out with me for a weekend and we're just...
meet new people.
Yeah. We're going to
break
play,
away from...
zip line, or just do
come
nothing.
Just be. Yeah, whatever.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Awesome. And how can people get in touch with you?
Yes. You can find me at dragonflydirection.com. I am on Instagram at dragonflydirection, Facebook at Heather Bischoff, Bischoff, or Dragonfly Direction, and Twitter at HBischoff.
Awesome. Thanks, H. Bischoff, for
Thank
being
you.
here again, as
Thank
usual. And thank you for being here. Thank you to Jim Wofford and Logan Street Signs and Banners for always allowing us to be here. And find me on Facebook, Jenny Parks. You can email me, jennyparks@alignyourlifewellness.com. And we will see you next week, Tuesday, 2 p.m. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Bye.